Now, Head of Parliament deliberating on the President's Phala Phala game farm debacle, Sudanese businessman Hazim Mustafa was reported to have been the person who paid for game in foreign currency, has confirmed to the SABC that all supporting documents related to the purchase of game from Phala Phala, including the declaration of the foreign currency, has been handed over to authorities. And let's speak now to SABC News' international editor, Sophie Mokoena. Sophie, good morning. So this is, of course, an interesting development in this particular saga. Talk to us about your conversation with the Sudanese businessman Hazim Mustafa.
Yes, you know that we've been trying to get hold of him, as we have pointed to the Sudanese have spent most of his time in the Middle East, particularly in the United Arab Emirates, Dubai, to be specific. Currently, he is in Qatar. He is there for the World Cup, as you are aware that he is in the board of one of the soccer teams in Sudan, Khartoum. And therefore, I've been communicating with him. But finally, this morning, an hour ago, he did communicate, saying that he doesn't want to go on camera or to send any recording. But he appreciates the fact that we've been trying to get hold of him to give him a right to reply. And he pointed out that he has given all the documents, supporting documents that are related to this case to the authorities, even went as far as saying that that includes the declaration form. As you are aware that when you come into South Africa, when you have foreign currency, you have to declare the foreign currency at the port of entry. And therefore, he is saying that he did declare the foreign currency. But the question now is, when he bought those Ankole cars, whoever took the money and the people who are supposed to install in terms of them receiving this money, they do that. If you give me dollars, I have to go to the bank and convert them to the local currency, or I have to declare that I've received dollars from so and so. So that is the problem. And now the question I have process tomorrow where members of parliament grappling with this matter.
Well, Sophie, apologies there because the connection is not great. So let's just try one more time. Perhaps if you could just move around slightly because we were losing you there, and you were saying something about the declaration form. And of course, Mr. Hazim saying that he did basically turn over all of those documents to the relevant authorities. And the question also becomes which authorities and when? Sophie?
Exactly. The question is it the law enforcement agencies or who exactly? Or is it related to the Reserve Bank? Because you have different institutions that are dealing with this, whether it is the Public Protector's Office, who is also, or the office that is also investigating the matter. But he was short and he did send that message confirming that he did declare and he did submit the documents, all the documents to the relevant authorities. But I think they will still, upon receiving those documents, the relevant authorities, either the Hawks, the Public Protector's Office or Reserve Bank, authenticate those documents, because you have to ensure that those documents are authentic. But the question still remains, whoever received the money, did that person do the right thing? Did the president declare that he has received such amount of dollars? As you know that he has to do that upon receiving that money.
And I suppose the time frame also becomes very interesting, Sophie, because in his interview with Sky News, Mr. Mustafa had indicated that he had done this deal through a broker. But initially, when they had asked him how he actually brought the money into the country, he spoke and he said through the airport. That was, his very trite response. So all of those questions, of course, need to be answered in light of the South African Reserve Bank saying that they had no record of any such money and any such transaction that may have taken place. So I'm not sure how deep your conversation ultimately went in that regard, Sophie.
Well, clearly he was quite short in his message. And I think these are the questions that the Reserve Bank must answer. And they have pointed out that they don't have any information or records of such a transaction. People who are still mum are the people at the port of entry who have not come out clear in terms of confirming whether this money was declared at the border. And also, he is quite short. And a week ago, there was a discussion with editors on the continent and journalists on the continent about issues of corruption related to Phala Phala. One of the experts that indicated that he knows this guy very well and he is not a character that you can really trust. And therefore, this, conflicting report speaks to who is this person. And I remember last week I was saying you have people who are familiar with newsmakers in Sudan and stakeholders in Sudan because he is also linked to the previous regime of Omar al-Bashir. People like former President Mbeki who often visit Sudan as part of the high-level panel on Sudan. These are the people who might have better access in terms of getting information, in terms of the background of the businessman and whether he is a person that you can trust. I think these issues will definitely come out. You know that like in Uganda, when it started, it was back and forth, misinformation, denial, and finally the truth did come out in terms of what happened, who did what and why, and there was accountability. In this case, I think it will finally lead to a situation where better information will be made available.
Sophie Mokoena, thanks so much. That was the SABC News international editor, Sophie Mokoena, speaking to us about Sudanese businessman Hazim Mustafa, who is reported to have been the person who paid for game in foreign currency that he brought into the country via OR Tambo International Airport, says he followed all the protocols. But of course, we also know at this stage that SARS had previously indicated that they were not aware of such money being brought into the country. So this one will still grow legs. It will still continue. Sophie Mokoena, having had opportunity to speak to Mustafa Hazim earlier today.